Share screen, Zoom webinar. There it is, okay? All right, cool. There we are. Folks, for those of you who don't know, Brian McCarthy is the spokesperson for the National Football League. So, we're in and waiting. And waiting. And waiting.
This might be a good time to grab a little snack.
Yummy! Oh, here we just as you said that, the screen changed.
Oh.
And there is Mr.
Right here.
Ready? We start. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulty on my side here at 3:45. We are looking forward to seeing many of you in the next couple of days for the league meeting on Orlando, which begins Sunday evening and is expected to conclude Tuesday afternoon. We wanted to provide a preview of the meeting with a focus today on the competition committee and health and safety agenda. You should have received yesterday the playing rule, bylaw, and resolution proposals, and we ask that you refer to them as we hear from Jeff, Troy Vincent, Rich McKay in his capacity as chair of the competition committee. They'll each make opening remarks, and then we'll take some questions using the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. The session is on the record, being recorded, and you may post in real time. Before we get to Jeff Miller, Mike Signora had a couple quick items.
Thanks, Brian. Yes, just a few things to note. So Monday morning from 7:45 to 8:15 a.m., we're going to have the AFC head coaches available to media in the JW Marriott Palazzo Ballroom, Salon E. So that's Monday morning, 7:45 to 8:15 a.m. with the AFC coaches. And then Tuesday morning from 7:45 to 8:15 a.m. will be the NFC head coaches in the same location, JW Marriott Palazzo Ballroom, Salon E. And then we'll have media available. And we'll have breakfast available for media following each session. You do need a credential to attend the media availabilities at the annual meeting. If you have not already applied for one, please email Cody Enos of our staff today so we can get that sorted out in advance. And then Monday night at 7 p.m., you are invited to attend the reception on the Da Vinci lawn of the Ritz-Carlton. As a reminder, and because we like seeing you at this party and we'd like to keep seeing all of you at this party, it is a party and not a photo or interview opportunity. So we would just remind you of that and just ask you to please respect that on Monday night at that reception at 7 p.m. With that, I will turn it over to Jeff Miller.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Brian. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing many of you in Orlando next week. Troy and Rich are going to spend some time reviewing the competition committee outcomes, as you just heard, and club proposals in a minute. I'm happy to talk about the health and safety inputs that went into some of those decisions. Competition committee used a lot of data, as you have all become accustomed to at this point in making the decisions they made about potential rules proposals, including some from health and safety. And we can discuss those. More broadly, when we think about the league meeting next week, 2023 was a great year. Our focus is going to be beyond that and looking forward. So just to give you a top line on a couple of the topics we'll spend a lot of time on outside of the game, we'll discuss growing it. We'll discuss growing the game, both internationally with games coming up in Sao Paulo and then 2025, a game in Madrid, but other international markets and marketing opportunities for our clubs as our international fan base continues to grow year over year. That also means discussing flag football. And that's leading up, of course, to the Olympics in 2028, but also increasing state-sanctioned flag football here at home for both boys and girls as that game continues to take off and engendering a lot of interest. We'll discuss the changing media landscape. That, of course, will take a fair amount of time for us. While we're proud to have 94 of the top 100 shows this last season, during the regular season, that is, we're going to spend a lot of time reviewing, too, our digital strategy. We've always said we need to find our fans where they are. As our fans, especially our younger fans, are increasingly on digital platforms, we need to make sure that we are flexible enough to to make football available to them. So we'll talk about Peacock and Amazon and YouTube and wherever we are going with those relationships in the coming years. Importantly, too, we're going to spend some time at DE&I as we do at all meetings. We'll review this hiring cycle. We'll talk about what we learned from it, what was good, what wasn't as good, and spend some time thinking about how to continue to make our game and our clubs as open to as many different people as we can, because that diversity, we believe, makes us stronger. So that's a lot in a very short period of time, as Brian laid out. But for now, we'll talk about competition committee and rules changes and take your questions in a minute. So with that, I will turn it over to Brian. We going to Rich or to Troy?
Let's go to Troy, who's joining us via cell phone. Troy?
Excellent. Troy, all you.
Yes, good. My volume okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Yeah. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thanks, Jeff. Let me begin also by just, I think it's important that I recognize the individuals that we've been working with since the Thursday after Super Bowl, where we would say the regular 2023 journey, or the 2024 off-season journey began with not only the competition committee, but the general managers advisory committee, the secret football, the player health and safety committee, our election youth advisory committee, working with the NCAA, multiple position coaches, as well as the Players Association. We closed the season out with a little over 41,600 players. The work began Thursday after Super Bowl on the combine, meeting with individual position group coaches, 5 days of work at the combine, multiple, just countless hours of video. When we went to Fort Lauderdale last week, and we'll close out this week at the annual meeting. And I just think it's important to just give just a little bit of just where we started post Super Bowl, especially around ball through the end zone, the 35-second clock. Just offensive play and production in particular, intentional grounding. Talk about offensive line play. The push play was something that was discussed over the last 2 years. Tackling education, just where we are with the crackback block. I think Jeff had referenced that. Always look at the QB protection, kickoff, obviously, and we're still spending time there. And then the PCA. So this is kind of where we started, and I would just say closing out, and Chairman, and I know he's following me here. When we think about 10 playing rule proposals, 7 bylaws, and 3 resolutions as it pertains to the game, and just coming out of the competition committee meetings last week in Fort Lauderdale, the intentional grounding is an area that I feel like the committee, just with consistency in those calls, the administration of that, that we feel like we will be able to address that inside of the situation. And replay instead. The crackback block, we continue to remove blocks that are just dangerous. And in particular, this one, low injury rate, but significant time loss when it occurs. We believe it's easy to officiate, to identify, and this should be correctly just establishing that block zone, keeping the actual block above the knee but below the neck, and then keeping protection. We also feel like with replay and replay shift, just getting consistency around protection of the calls, around being accurate and then efficient. But that protection zone, quarterback in the pocket, out of the pocket, was something that the committee spent a lot of time on. And then we talk about the hip drop and just trying to explain that grab swivel and just that unweighting on the back of the leg, trapping and the unweighting in the back of the leg. And I'll just personally inject here. I felt like all of the committee is something that we want to get out the game, and I'll just keep going back 20 to 25 times X. We just have to be responsible. And as I would speak to the players, I would share this with any players as I talk to them on a daily basis. The greatest asset for any athlete is durability and availability. And when you have a play that has a 20 to 25X injury rate, it doesn't allow you to fulfill your dreams. So just something that the committee has spent a lot of time on, and membership will vote on that this coming week. And then the kickoff is something that I think Jeff alluded to this as well. Just a lot of time spent with the position coaches Coach Hightower from Chicago, Coach Rizzi from New Orleans, and Coach Foster from Dallas, and all of the special team coaches. About 60 coaches got together during Combine and that's over the last year. Just trying to come up with an alternative that will be discussed at length, and the membership will vote on that. And then lastly, I'll just close before I turn it over to the chairman, is officiating. And I think we were extremely, as we always are, extremely transparent and pointed. Crew consistency was the charge going into the 2023 campaign. Our ongoing efforts to identify and train and develop the on-field and replay officials. We saw significant improvement from Crew 1 to Crew 17 as it pertains to crew consistency. So we'll continue to train, identify good personnel. We're looking at better trainings for game-day tests. But we're in a place where the competition committee feels our communication with the clubs, on-field officials for our plan going into the 2024 campaign. We feel solid about that. So I'll close with that before I turn it over to the chairman. Was there anything I missed, Tim?
Go ahead, Rich.
All right, thank you. No, Troy, that was great. I appreciate it. And again, like Troy said, hats off to all the people, first of all, that support the committee. There's a lot of people at the league office that support the committee. There's a lot of work. The GMAC, which is General Manager Advisory Committee, they do good work. They had a lot of input to us. The coaches subcommittee, led by Coach Reed, Super Bowl Coach Reed, has been invaluable to us. There's just a lot that goes into where we are. I just want to go back to where we started, which is, and we wrote it in the report this year, that our committee is always charged with the same thing, right? It's preserving the integrity of the game, maintaining competitive equity, and continually improving on player health and safety. That's where we kind of focus our efforts. So I'll talk a little bit about some trends we have that we like in the game, and then some things that obviously we don't like as much and we're trying to address. The trends we like in the game are the themes of the game, right? So we had 6 new playoff teams this year. We like that a lot. It's a streak of 34 seasons in a row where we've at least had 4 new playoff teams. We had a worst to first this year in the Texans, which shows you in our league that you are just that far away, depending upon where your team is and the breaks you may get. And so hats off to them. 25% of all games, the winning team was trailing in the fourth quarter. We like comebacks. We don't like when we're part of them, but we like when we get them. Statistically, what gives us concern a little bit is scoring. Scoring this year at 43.5 is still above an historical marker, which has kind of been that 43 mark. But we were at 49 points per game during COVID. And we went to 45, we went to 43.760, and now we're down to 43.54. So we spent a lot of time trying to understand that. I do believe the kickoff proposal this year will impact scoring, because I think it will impact field position by at least 3 to 5 yards. And in doing that, you definitely impact scoring. That's one thing we've looked at. Troy talked about replay assist. I will say that we believe replay assist has worked very well for us. We did use the same kind of approach as we use on a lot of things, which is just this idea of kind of going slow and letting it grow and not starting too fast. I think we've done that in replay assist. It's gotten better each year. It's gotten more predictable each year. And I think we'll try to expand it a little bit this year. But I think replay assist, by and large, has served us well. The 2 rules that I'll talk about before we go to Q&A with all you guys is, let's talk hip drop, right? So hip drop's been on our radar for a number of years, brought to us by health and safety. The thing I like about health and safety today versus I've been on the committee a long time, when I first got on the committee, is it's no longer about watching video. It's no longer about having either a player or a trainer or a coach recount for us how the injury occurred and what we could do to prevent it. It's about data, and it's about that data tied to that tape showing us exactly how the injury is occurring. So the one thing I want to say about the hip drop is we're not prohibiting what everybody calls the hip drop, because the hip drop can come in many different fashions. It can be a drag down from behind. There can be a lot of things that go on that would look like this hip drop tackle. This is a specific type of a tackle where a player literally grabs and then unweights himself, meaning he lifts himself in the air and then comes down on the either the knee or the ankle. And Troy made the point, the injury rate for us, 20 to 25% higher on that particular tackle. Doesn't happen very often. It's a once a week, thing that they find, but that injury to that player is substantial. So, a couple things I'd say about the rule. Number one, we tried to draft it very specifically in the language, and number two, we were very quick to say, listen, it's hard to see all the elements of the hip drop in one continuous action. So, the number one thing we have to do is get a rule in the books that we can enforce on Monday and try to get the technique out of the game. It's a little bit of where we started with use of helmet. We knew it would be hard to see all the elements of use of helmet, but we knew we had to start somewhere with something on the books in order to educate players of what's allowed and what isn't allowed. And that's what we believe we're doing here. This is not a play where a smaller person is trying to tackle a bigger person. That's not what we found, and that's not what the play showed us. This is a play where the person that's getting tackled really is defenseless at that moment when that person has unweighted themselves and falls. So that's why we recommend that rule with the backing of the Health and Safety Committee. I'll go quickly on the kickoff, and then I'll let you guys go to questions. Where are we on the kickoff? Well, the kickoff is over the years, we have gotten all this data from Health and Safety that said, listen, the kickoff configuration is too dangerous, and we need to find ways to make the play safer. And we just have not been able to find a way to make the play safer. We have been able to make the play more of a non-event, i.e. touchbacks, but we've not made the play safer. The injury rate remains right at the same historical levels it has been at. The one thing that jumps out at me and jumps out at us as a committee is that when you go back to 2010, you looked at 416 touchbacks in 2010, and you looked at 45,000 return yards in 2010. That's in one season. We are now at 1,970 touchbacks. We went from 416 to 1,970, and we've gone from 45,000 yards of returns down to 13,000 yards of returns. We've taken too much out of the game. It's too exciting of a play. And so we use that phrase, we don't want to lose the foot from the game. But I also think we don't want to lose special teams. I think special teams has been a part of our game for a long time, an exciting part of our game. And it feels like special teams, especially when it comes to the kickoff, has been away for a little while, but it really hasn't. It's much more of a recent effect. But that line of demarcation in 2010 is when all of a sudden those touchbacks started to go up. This year,